Welcome viewers to the Dragster Shop and Transmissions. So let me start by saying that occasionally, about once a week I reckon, I have a small channel. I think I have like 80 viewers. And so anyway, it's pretty easy for me at this point to just go with a couple of my videos that have the most views and see where they're at. Anyway, one of my videos has had quite a bit of views. I think over 6,000 views, and for me that's pretty good. Well, it's the Turbo 400. If you subscribe to my channel and look through my videos, it'll be up. The title of that video is Turbo 400 Vacuum Modulator Adjustment and what it does. Well, because that video has had so many views, it's also suggested on other videos. When you scroll down and look at the suggested videos. So I was checking that out this morning and saw this video, and I thought, well, okay, I better try to set it straight of what a Turbo 350, 400, and 700 R4 governor, what it does and what to look for. I do have another governor, a couple of other governor videos for these transmissions on my channel. Feel free to check them out. I appreciate it. So anyway, before we get started, the other video that I was watching this morning had some misinformation. So before you guys get in trouble and end up... Okay, so this is your tail shaft. Now, let me stop right there. This transmission came in as a core last week for a transmission I built and sold to a fella, a client. And this was his trade-in. It's a good transmission, just needs to be rebuilt. So, that being said, the last video I watched, the guy had a four-wheel drive truck, and the governor gear, which is plastic, you see it right here, was worn out in the center. It was just worn out. It looked like it was like it was said in the video, it looked like it was apple cord in the center, just worn down in the center. And okay, so he goes to a transmission shop, they install a new gear, and you know, he comes back, puts it in. Okay, first off, the governor controls the shift points in the transmission. Alright, you have these outer weights, heavy outer weights, and then if you look down in here, you have springs pushing against the lighter weights, which are basically your secondary weights. Now, if you watch my other video, you'll see how I took one of these apart and explained to you in detail the different weights for different shift points, whether you want the transmission to shift later or sooner, and the springs are for fine tuning to get you really in the ballpark of the desired RPM that you're looking for. That's not the purpose of this video. This purpose of the video is to make sure you understand, first of all, the governor controls the shift points. Now, back to the gear. If you look, I'm going to try to get this to focus. Okay, if you look, you see how these teeth, the edges are, the top edges are flat. Alright, there's still transmission fluid on this. This gear can be reused, okay? But when these edges go from being flat to showing signs of being wear, actually this gear I probably won't use. It does have some more places in it, but you could, if you had to, reuse it. And so back to what I saw earlier, this whole thing was just wore down in the center. All right, there's okay. That indicates there's a problem in the transmission. All right, you just don't put a new gear on that and slip it back in there. I mean, you can if you can't afford a transmission rebuild, but that's what you ultimately, that's what you really need. And I'll get to that in a minute. Okay, so the governor slides in on the driver's side of the Turbo 350. It goes in like that, and I put this transmission back together just for the purpose of this video. Now, you look up in there, you see now keep in mind I've got the transmission upside down on the workbench. You see the governor gear, it's being a hard plastic, some kind of nylon plastic, I'm not sure. I don't think anybody knows. You see how it rides under the tail shaft. Now, pay attention to that because I'm about to show you what's going on. Now, this is what they call a short tail shaft transmission, Turbo 350. All right, as you can tell, when the transmission's turning, so is the governor. Okay. Now, back to what I was saying about the center of the gear being worn out. All right, there's a reason for that. So let's pull the governor out. Pull the input shaft out. Let me go around here and do that. Okay. All right. So, all right. Now, I'm going to show you in the case. It's a very critical component in a Turbo 350 case. Right there. You have that bushing right there. And what happens is, now that bushing is where this part of the tail shaft rides into that bushing in the case. Now over time, that bushing starts to go away and causes your tail shaft to move up and down because you've got too much play in it. So now hopefully this makes sense. So now you've got the weight of that tail shaft due to the worn bushing laying on this gear. For you four-wheel drive guys, you're more likely going to see this mushroom gear, but you know, there's a lot of variables there. But there's the gear teeth on the output shaft. You see they're steel. They're very smooth, kind of dull, so they don't cut into the gear. Excuse me. So it rides in here like that. Now, that explains why the gear gets mushroomed. The bushings wore out. So when your transmission builder or a transmission shop, most of you don't have builders, you just have to take it somewhere and get it rebuilt. Whether it's me or another shop. Anyway, when you have a rebuild done, you get this bushing replaced. All right, you get all the bushings replaced throughout the transmission. You've got this one in the case that I showed you. You've got bushings down in here. Now, depending on what model, what your transmission you have, there may not be a bushing. You see the bushing right there. There may not be a bushing there. That's because there for a little while, GM did this little this plastic bushing. But any transmission rebuilder, they used to set down in here. See there? And then your input shaft would go into that and all good and well. Problem is they wear out. So a good transmission builder, he's going to take this, toss it, he's going to put bushings in that tail shaft for you. There's a lot of bushings in these transmissions, but the purpose of this video is to talk about the governor and how it wears out the gear. Alright, since I've covered the wear in the center of the gear on the governor, now let's cover how the teeth get sharp. they lose their flat edge, they get sharp. Now I'm going to have to put the tail shaft back in the case. No problem, just give me a second. I know I'm moving around a lot. I got a lot to do today. I wasn't planning on making a video this morning, or today, so. All right. So, there's that, and I'll put that all the way in. Now you put your governor back in. All right, now, how the teeth get sharp is if you look here, over time, the governor could move in and out. All right. All right. I explained this in one of my other videos about the governor as well. Right there, see the end of this? Here is your governor cover. Goes in there like that. All right. You look in here. See that? All right. So you want to set. You want very little play, in and out play on this. If you've got excessive play, take a real good look at the plastic gear, because it's probably got sharp edges on it, sharp teeth on the teeth. At that point, you need a new gear, if that's all it's wrong. All right, now to fix that, you put this back in place. Do recommend you put a new seal around it if you have to take the governor cover off. All right, so you put it back together, and you just come in with a hammer and you tap it right here. All right, and that sets your in play, or your forwards and back movement clearance on the governor. All right, because you don't want that moving in and out too much. Now you see I slid it out, and that's because I don't have the cover in all the way. So the governor sets your shift points. Watch my other video. You understand how to disassemble this, how to check. There's a little valve inside this governor. You've got to take it. Well, first off, I can show you here. See in there? You see that valve moving up and down when I open and close the weights? Okay, and you might think, oh, okay, well, it works. Well, no. There's your pin. Right there. See, it goes all the way through. It's just a roll pin. You drive that out. Okay, you drive that out. You're going to change the gear anyway. All right. And there's that little valve at that point will come out. And in that valve, I've got another governor over here that I disassembled for another video. I'll just go ahead and show everybody again. Here is that valve. Okay, this is the valve you saw in the other one, and right there. See that teeny tiny pinhole right there? Make sure that that's cleaned out. All right. Make sure that that's clean, and then put everything back together. And with the new gear, after you set your in play, put it back in the transmission, set your in play like I showed you with a hammer. You know, you can take the tail shaft off of these transmissions, and you can take your finger or a screwdriver and just push back and forth on the governor to confirm how much in play you have. Take the tail housing off, and you see you've got. No, I don't have this one set up yet, because like I said, this is for disassembly. I'm actually going to build this transmission. So, and there you go. But you see how over time, sorry. Yeah, so this case bushings wore out in this transmission. It'll need a new one. So now you're replacing all the bushings in the transmission. That makes the job a little more expensive, but you know what? It's worth it in the end. But what I'm saying is, on the governor, if your teeth are sharp, then your side play is too great. Okay, so you push the pin, You remove the governor, you press out the pin, take your gear off, order one, count the teeth on the gear, because that's the same amount of teeth you're going to need. Or go to a transmission shop, they'll sell you one or whatever. And they may even install it for you. But clean everything up, including the little valve inside the governor. Alright, do not change the springs or the weights at this point, because a lot of times if your shift points have changed and your gears wore out, put a new gear on it and start there. And then if you still don't have your shift points where you want them, then you start changing the weights. But watch my other video and you'll see how to do that. Alright guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment below, and subscribe to the channel for other content. Check out my other videos. And thanks for watching. Till the next time, see ya.